else is not going to be here, sir? Who else is not going to be here? Cloud's not going to come? He's here. Where's Cody? Oh. Huh? 8 minutes. 8 minutes of showtime, Steve. 8 minutes of showtime.
Good. Hope you got your best jacket on.
Got my most preferred jacket.
Remember that? STM Light.
What's up, Steve? You can't. Can't. No, you can't. You know, we know the rules.
They should go pretty smooth.
Mr. Kelly. So we have to remind Councillor Twill at second reading, there's no discussion. 71, 73, there's no discussion. Well, no, there's, on second reads, it replaces third reading, you don't, it's done. Yeah, no, that's the rules. Yeah. Well, he's going to try to make a big show here. I know he is. You know he is. Oh, yeah. Showtime. Showtime. Okay. Can we start there, sir? Got a minute? 4 minutes. Wow. Long time up there on that clock. 4 minutes. Wow. Long time up there on that clock. Get a little more water there, Steve. Get a little more water there, Steve. Okay. I was looking out for time there, sir. Okay. I was looking out for time there, sir.
Hey, just before we start, sheets here, Daphne, and then Johnston, Southeast They
What?
conquered down here for the weekend. Conquered down here for the weekend. Myself, I was in the meetings firsthand, and especially carried out. And I want to thank all the carried out first responders, maritime elections, volunteers, maritime elections, work around here. Community center, Will Park, so the Fed Center. At one point in time, Councilor Burke, at one point, there was 100 people. Councilor Burke, 100 copies. So on behalf of mayor and council and the staff, I want to say a big thank you to all on that work.
Yes.
All this last week, they were up, they were red, and they were red, Canadian blood group. And this week you'll see the color change because from this week you'll see the color change because of the Arthritis Society. So it's a way of Bickner Tower as supportive of these groups. The other thing too is that Councilor Ramsey told me today on August 31st, 45 years later.
Wow.
Wow.
And Councilor
Wow. That's off to both councilors.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Dear Philip Brown, I want to write this note in comment to a wonderful young man who is looking after the cemetery on University Avenue, Carl Phillips. Boy, a city boy, he needs honorary mention. Why always on the job, working every time, working every time, working day. He has taken the grounds fences around back to more than an eye catcher. Speaker then feels the passion and honor to work as the caretaker for our ancestors. He is humble, hardworking, and passionate about his job. No attention deserve honorary mention. Good news, good Viola. So I just wanted to pass that on. We do pass the old Protestant cemetery on the avenue. Because he's there by himself, working day in, day out. And he's there being rain and sunshine. I know Carl because last year I took a grade 5 class, or the year before last, tour of the cemetery. He knows every gravestone and the history behind it. So a big honorary mention to Carl.
Okay.
And call to order. The declarations of conflict of interest. Yes, sir.
Planning resolution on the corner of Upton and Royalty Road.
Yes.
On the
Conflict, yes. Okay. Any other conflicts? Okay, Councillor Duffy, no, Councillor Duffy is being mic'd in. Can you hear us? Is being mic'd in. Can you hear us?
Nope.
This is the technology.
Want to go and check it, Tracy?
Baby's offline. Baby's offline.
Worship?
Your worship, your agenda.
I'm here, can you hear me, Tracy?
Yes, could you?
I'm here, can you hear me, Tracy?
Yes,
Yes, very faintly, but I can hear him. Can you hear me? Very faintly, but I can hear him. Can you hear me? Okay, as long as you speak up, speak up.
Want me to speak louder?
Speak up.
Want me to speak louder?
Still hear us?
Yes, I can.
Still hear us?
Go and test.
Yes, I can.
Test yours.
Yeah.
Test yours.
Can you hear me now, Councillor Duffy?
I can hear you, your worship.
Oh, there you are, look at that.
I can hear you, your worship.
Okay, we're approving the agenda. Okay, we're approving the agenda. Creel has asked to move, Parks and Recreation to 6-1. 6-2 becomes Planning and Heritage, and thereafter just changes the numbers. He has to leave to attend a FCM meeting. So catch a flight out at the Charlottetown Airport. Is that all right? Okay, you're all right with that, Councillor Duffy?
I know, whatsoever.
Okay.
I know,
So,
whatsoever.
number 4, adoption of previous draft minutes. You have the regular meeting, August 12th, 2019. Special meetings, open minutes, August 12th, 20th, 27th, 28th, and September 4th. And then a planning public meeting that was held at the Rod Charlottetown, August 27th. Rod Charlottetown, August 27th. Is there a motion to approve? Motion to second to approve. Any discussion? Any discussion? You're all right? Okay, all those in favor? You're all right? All those in favor? Okay, sir. Business arising out of the minutes. Business arising out of the minutes. Any business arising out of the minutes there, Councillor Duffy?
No, none at all, none at all. No, none at all, none at all.
Okay,
None, no,
thank you.
none, no.
So, Councillor Twill, do you want to go first?
Members of council, a report is in your package. Members of council, a report is in your package. As the normal procedure is, I have the honor to
Normal
read out the
procedure
Volunteer of the Month
I have
Award.
the honor to read out
As
the
Chair of
Volunteer of
Parks
the
and
Month Award.
Recreation and Leisure
As Chair of
Activities
Parks and
Committee,
Recreation and
I am
Leisure
pleased to
Activities
announce
Committee.
Mike Bishop as
I
the
am pleased
volunteer,
to announce Mike Bishop as the volunteer.
Volunteer of the Month for the month of September.
Volunteer of the month.
Mike has been
for the
involved
month
with
of September.
softball and ringette
Mike
for
has
the
been
past
involved
number
with
of years.
softball and ringette
From
for the past
2014 to
number of years.
2017, he was the head coach of the U20
He was the head
Under
coach of
23
the
Canada Games
U20
men's
Under
softball
23
team,
Canada Games
and from
men's
2016 to
softball team.
2017,
And from
Mike was the
2016
coach
to
of the
2017,
under
Mike
8
was the coach
girls
of the
ringette team in Charlottetown.
girls
This past
ringette team
season,
in Charlottetown.
Mike was the head coach
This
of
past
the
season,
under 10
Mike was
girls
the head coach
softball
of the
team
under
within the
10
West
girls
Royalty
softball
Girls
team
Softball
within the
Association,
West Royalty
and plans
Girls
to
Softball
coach
Association,
within the same
and plans to
age
coach
division next
within the
season.
same age
Also,
division next season.
this coming fall, Mike has
Also,
applied to
This
coach
coming fall,
the
Mike
under
has applied
10
to coach
ringette team within the
under
Charlottetown
10
Ringette
team
Association.
within the Charlottetown
Please
Ringette
join with me in
Association.
congratulating Mike
Please join with
on his
me in
recognition of
congratulating
September's
Mike
Volunteer of
on
the
his
Month.
recognition of
The
September's
report is-
Volunteer of the Month. The report is-
The report is in your package.
the report,
As you can see, an expensive amount
as
of
you can
work
see,
was done over the
expensive
past
amount
month
of
in
work
terms of
was done over
updating
the
city
past month
council
in terms of
as to
updating city
what the
council
developments are,
as to
everything from
what the
playground
developments
equipment
are,
to
everything
some of the
from
capital
playground
projects that
equipment
we're
to some of the
continuing to
capital
work on.
projects that we're
We have one
continuing to
resolution that's
work on.
coming
We
forward
have one
for council's
resolution that's
consideration,
coming forward
and I'll do
for
my
council's
best to answer any
consideration,
questions.
and
Thank
I'll do
you.
my best to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor Rivera.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Twila, for your
Thank you,
report.
Your Worship.
I
Thank you, Councillor Twila, for your
want to
report.
thank you very much for reading in the report about
very much
the,
for,
my request
reading in
to
the
look into the
report about
volleyball
the,
courts.
my
So I see that in
request
here,
to
so I
look into the
appreciate that. Thank you.
So I see that in
Quick
here,
question
so I
for
appreciate
you,
that. Thank
two
you.
questions.
Quick
On
question
the
for you,
floating
two
dock.
questions.
One
On
is,
the
took a
floating
drive
dock.
down,
One
saw that
is,
it
took a
was
drive
bent out
down,
of shape a
saw
little
that,
bit.
saw that it was
Curious
bent
if
out of shape a little bit.
if there's any substantial
Curious
damage
if
to
there's,
that.
if there's
And
any
the second
substantial
question I
damage
have
to
for you
that.
too was when I was on the
And the
floating
second
dock,
question I have for
my
you too
question
was
was
when
with
I was on the
regards to
floating
the
dock,
steepness of
my
the
question was
ramp.
with regards to the steepness
And
of
it seemed
the
really, really
ramp.
steep for a wheelchair to get down there. I know one of the reasons why we wanted to put that in the first place was for people who had disabilities to be able to enjoy, you know, the scenery or just the experience that out in the water. But I was a little bit shocked with this, with how steep that ramp was. So I'm wondering if that's something that we acknowledge and something that we're going to look at. So, yeah, just around the floating dock. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. First and foremost, there was absolutely no damage done to the dock during the hurricane. In fact, the people that are responsible for the dock, I think they did a fantastic job. And disembarking the floating dock to the ramp, to the stairs going down, or not the ramp, but the ramp going down to the dock. So it's, if you drive by right now and after the meeting, you're welcome to take you and your family and down and enjoy the dock. And secondly, as far as the steepness of the railing going down, usually that's adjusted when the tide comes in and when the tide goes out. There have been a number of people that have used it, people with disabilities, had a great experience. And I can tell you, Councilor Rivera, all members of City Council, that this floating dock has received a tremendous amount of participation. We're averaging on a daily basis probably 100 to 200 people a day that get down and enjoy that dock, take pictures, and have a wonderful experience. So it's been tremendous success, and I certainly look forward to future years and the success of that dock. Can we make changes and make improvements? Of course we can. But thus far, the pilot project has worked extremely well.
No more questions? Can we go into the resolution there, Councillor?
Yes, sir.
Councillor Twila, second by Councillor Bernard, that as per the recently advertised request for quote for the lighting upgrade to Rockford King and Hillsborough Heritage Squares, the city accepts the total bid of $59,039.89, HST included, from R. Cudmore Electric for the installation of the light and the amount from Richardson and the amount associates of $2,875, HST included, for engineering and professional fees be accepted, and that these amounts be expensed in the 2019 Park and Recreation capital budget. And further, that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute standard contract agreements.
So Counselor Duffy, did you hear that? So Counselor
I did.
Duffy, did you hear that? You have the resolution in front of you? You have the
Yes, I
resolution
do.
in front of you? Any questions? Motion?
No, I,
Okay, motion.
no, I,
Question call. Question call, thank you, sir. Please vote. Question call, thank you, sir.
I'm in favor.
Thank you.
I'm in favor.
That's it, Counselor? So, could you please go back to your planning? Please go back to your planning. Revert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Planning Board met on Friday, August 23rd, as well as Tuesday, September 3rd. A copy of the Planning Board minutes are in everyone's binders. The Heritage Board also met Monday, August 26th. Again, the information is in your binders. There are 7 resolutions for consideration tonight, as well as 2 second readings. If there's any questions, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Any questions? Any questions? Council, do you want to deal with the first resolution? Do you want to deal with the first resolution? That is,
Moved by Councilor Berg, second by Councilor Cody, that the request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan from low density residential to medium density residential. And B, amend Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from low density residential, or 2 zones to medium density residential, or 3 zones for the property at 38 Palmer's Lane, PID 27515, in order to construct an 18-unit apartment building to be rejected.
did you hear that, Councilor Duffy?
I did, Worship, yes. I did, Worship, yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't know if there's some confusion. I had some questions today with regards to if it's an 18 unit versus that of a 17 unit. Alice, can you, is it 18 unit being proposed? Or
I have a conflict on this, but this is,
Oh.
this is a process question.
Oh.
So, this question was asked earlier today.
Okay. Your Worship, my understanding is, I think 17, if free zone, I think they have the land capacity to have a 17 unit as of right. I think the 18th, or the extra unit to make it an 18 unit on this would require a variance, I believe. So, no, the zoning itself would, if it was changed to R3, it would allow for 17 units as of right, I believe, with the calculation of the square footage of the land. I think they would require a variance if they go to 18. That's just some confusion around that question, that's all. And I was just trying to answer that question, that's all.
17 or 18?
And I was just trying to, I don't know. We'll go with 18, but if it is 18, they have to come in. But R3, besides the zoning request they have here, doesn't matter if they wanted an 18, they have to come in for a variance anyways. R3 would allow for 17 as a right base, so it's up to the developer at that point. I'm just looking for some clarification. But that's good, doesn't matter.
Okay, Councilor Trio.
Councilor Rivera, you're the chair of planning. This was discussed at planning. Why would you want clarification tonight when we're ready to have the vote? When this was already vetted through the planning committee, the committee which you chair.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councilor Rio, just the question was raised to me today, that's all. My planning board meeting, as I said, was last week. So it's just, it really doesn't have any effect on this. I was just looking for council's perspective. Again, it makes no difference on the actual application itself. It's for zoning to an R3.
Any other questions? Any questions there, Councilor Duffy? Any questions there, Councilor
Yeah,
Duffy?
what's the issue here? Is it change from 18 to 16, is that the?
No issue. Councillor Duffy, nothing's changed. The application is to rezone the property to an R3 zone, period. If the applicant, if approved, if the applicant chooses to do an 18 unit, they'd have to come and get a variance. But that's aside from the rezoning application that we have here tonight.
I understand.
Okay.
So we're just dealing with the rezone.
Correct.
Yes, exactly, okay.
Correct.
Yes, exactly, okay.
Question call?
Question call.
Don't just-
I'm opposed.
Sorry, Your Worship, I think I hit the wrong number. Let's see. Sorry, Your Worship, I think I hit the
Councillor
wrong
Varda,
number.
you opposed or in favor?
Yes, opposed.
Councillor Varda,
I'm opposed.
opposed, so I have Revere, Yankoff opposed, Bernard opposed, Duffy opposed, and Ramsey opposed. Duffy opposed, that means the rejection is... Rejected. Rejected, you have to take another resolution. Another resolution, Revere.
Yeah, I have to.
So what happens here is that we have to put forward another resolution to support the rezone. Resolution to support. Rejected, it means approved. Rejected, it means approved.
What's that? No, she was against. What's that?
So what was the vote?
You'd have to go,
Five opposed.
What was the vote?
no, he was
Five
opposed.
opposed.
Six.
And Jason was opposed.
Councillor
No,
Duffy.
no, not planning.
No, McLeod's not here.
Oh, no, Duffy. Oh, he's on there, I'm sorry. Sorry. Oh, he's on there, I'm
I was opposed.
Yeah, we're just getting a new resolution.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just getting a
sorry.
Go ahead and read the
Duffy,
resolution.
I missed your name.
hold on.
Go ahead and read the
Duffy, I
resolution.
missed your name.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor Yankoff, that the request to amend Appendix A, future land use map of the official plan of low-density residential to medium-density residential, and B, amend Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning development bylaw of low-density residential zone to the medium-density residential zone. The property at 38 Palmer's Lane, PID 275156, in order to construct an 18-unit apartment building be approved. In order to construct an 18-unit apartment building be approved.
Question call?
Question call? Question call? Please vote. Question call?
I approve.
Please vote.
I approve.
When you vote,
I want to speak, I press the button to speak.
vote. Question call?
When I press the button to speak,
Vote. Question call?
must have been some confusion there when Councillor Duffy was talking. Must have been some confusion. Councillor Duffy was talking. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. So I press the button. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. I press the button. Oh, no, I have to disagree with you, Your Worship. I pressed the button. There was confusion here. I pressed the button. There was confusion here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the second month in a row. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that this is you have the planning board recommending rejection. Second month in a row. Rejection. This parallels what took place in Upper Prince Street last month. This parallels what took place in Upper Prince Street. And obviously, what I'm picking up in the last 24 hours, there's some lobbying going on behind the scenes. And that's great. That's great. And that's great. Developers have a right to make a request. Developers have a right to make a request. Have a zoning change. Public meeting took place at Sherrilton Hotel. Public meeting took place. Lifelong residents. Attended that meeting. I'm not against development. My job is to listen to constituents that live on these neighborhood streets. They want to maintain the fabric, want to maintain the integrity, and the character of the neighborhood. But that's not what's happening. I really think now, in light of what we're experiencing now here with the resolution being put on the floor, power play, to oppose the recommendation from planning board, something similar, or the exact same thing that took place in Upper Prince Street. The question becomes, why do we have public meetings? Really and truly. You know what? We should suspend the public consultation process. Because council, not all members of council's not listening to the residents. On election time, when you knock on their doors, say, I'm going to take your views to City Hall, and I'm going to effectively represent you. But that's not the case, because councilors that are voting in favor of it don't represent that ward. So apparently, there's no repercussions, no consequences. We're just going to drive it in. Yes, sir. We're just going to drive it in. So in terms of public consultation, collaboration, communications, cooperation, no, Your Worship, we should suspend that process because it's not worth the paper that it's written on. This is the second month in a row. I don't know what kind of a message this is being sent to the communities, the affected communities. These are older communities. The Upper Prince Streets and Palmer's Lane. Okay? These are not new subdivisions. Just walk down these streets and you'll see the character. So I don't know what we're saying to lifelong residents. I have no idea. Taxpayers, I have no idea. Is there a compromise? I'm not sure. But I can tell you, as a counselor for that ward, once again, we're seeing a decision being made on the floor, totally ignoring, in this particular case, totally ignoring the recommendation from staff, totally ignoring the recommendation from planning board, because somebody wants to champion the cause. Congratulations. Congratulations. I hope you can sleep tonight. I really do.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't want to get into an argument with Councillor Twill here, but we talked about people lobbying and making efforts to lobby for votes. If I recall the floating dock, there certainly was a level of lobbying going on for a floating dock. That the people opposed. Anyways, from a planning perspective, what Councillor Twill is missing is that the Upper Prince application was actually forwarded from staff with recommendation to approve. It was planning board who made the recommendation to council to not approve. So this is very different. Planning staff felt that was a good project to take place. So it is different in that case. Anyways, the reason I voted in favor, or why I support this project. It wasn't easy. We have lots of information in our binders from planning staff. There's certainly pros and cons to this. There's parts of the official plan that this certainly meets, and there's part of the official plan that doesn't meet. Because we're in a spot where we have a shortage of housing right now. With all things equal, my meter certainly blocks the way of housing. It's something that we desperately need in Charlottetown. And so again, there was certainly arguments to be made on both sides, but I'm supporting it because no. Correct. No, yeah.
And was there ever discussion of inclusionary zoning at some point?
Yeah.
Because this is a market value versus a non-market value. Are we really looking at that?
Not at the moment. Planning staff are.
Would be a good idea.
Oh yeah. No, I don't disagree.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't.
Well, I can understand the justification. I might even buy it if it was real. Because the two meetings that were held at the Charlottetown Hotel, no one talked about affordable housing. No one talked about it. We were there dealing with the application with respect to the zoning and the zoning change. So if that's going to be the prerequisite So suspend,
that's gonna be the
suspend the public
prerequisite.
consultation process.
Suspend.
Because as I
Suspend
said
the
earlier,
public consultation
it's
process.
not worth the paper that it's written on.
As I
And
said
as
earlier,
far as lobbying,
Not worth the paper
Counselor
that it's written on.
Rivard,
And as far as
we're talking
lobbying,
people's investments,
Counselor, Rivard,
their
we're talking
properties,
people's
lifelong investments.
their
People
properties.
pay
Lifelong
years and years and years to pay off their
People
mortgage
pay
payments,
Years and
Husband
years
and
and
wife
years to pay
working
off their mortgage
to
payments.
maintain
Husband
their
and wife
neighborhood,
working
their house,
to
and the
maintain
integrity
their
and the
neighborhood,
fabric,
their
and
house,
once again,
and the
not
integrity
being
and
listened
the
to.
fabric, and once
But
again,
I guess if you don't
not being
represent
listened
that
to.
ward, doesn't
But
really matter.
I guess if you don't represent that ward,
Get together
doesn't really
afterwards,
matter.
big celebration. Big
together
celebration.
afterwards, big
And
celebration.
we can justify it, well,
Big
we've got a
celebration.
crisis, or we got
And
this,
we
or
can
we got
justify
that.
it, well, we've got a
But
crisis, or
nobody
we
says
got
it
this,
at the
or we got
public
that.
meetings. When the residents
Nobody
were
says
asked
it at
to
the
come and
public
participate in the
meetings. When the
public
residents
consultation process,
We're asked to come
no
and
one-
participate in the public consultation
no one
process.
had the courage to
No
tell
one.
the residents, I'm sorry, we're
No
not gonna
one had
listen
the
to you,
courage to tell the residents,
because
"Sorry,
we're going on a
we're not
different
gonna
path.
listen to you."
It's too bad that wouldn't
Because
happen
we're
when
going
the
on a
residents are
different
right there.
It's too bad that wouldn't happen.
That
when the
doesn't
residents
seem
are
to
right
happen.
there.
We can justify it
That
afterwards,
doesn't
or
seem
we
to
can do
happen.
an interview with the
We can
media,
justify it
Dave
afterwards,
Stewart or
or we can
CBC.
do an
Well,
interview with the media.
you know,
Dave
had to
Stewart
go
or
this
CBC.
way, but
Well,
we didn't tell the residents
No,
that when
we
we
had
had
to
the
go
public
this way.
consultation
We
process.
didn't tell
And when the
residents
letters
that
go
we
out
had the public
within
consultation
100
process.
meters
And when the
of a
letters go
proposed
out
development, we don't tell the residents that, do we?
of a
No, sir.
proposed development, we
No,
don't tell the
can't do
residents
that.
that, do we? No, sir.
Anyway,
No, can't
vote.
do that.
You want to vote? Vote.
Anyway,
They already voted.
vote. Want to vote? Vote.
Counselor Twill, as for public consultation, Counselor Twill, does that require a change in the bylaw? Or procedural bylaw? Public consultation, procedural bylaw. And is that not in the planning act too? In the provincial planning act. So that requires the legislative assembly to sit down and change that act. So that requires the legislative assembly to sit down and change that act. Large. High, large. What? High, vote again? So, was the question called?
We don't already voted.
Was the question called? We cleared it so that we could all do it again. We cleared it so that we could all do it again.
Yes.
We're voting again on it. Are you opposed or in favor of? We're voting again on it. Are you opposed or in favor of?
The motion is, the last motion is on the floor.
Yes.
The motion is to oppose the rezoning.
Yes.
I vote in favor of that.
Yeah. In favor.
I vote in favor of that.
Okay.
No, that's for bringing. No, that's for bringing.
So we have Rivard, Yankoff, Bernard, Duffy, and Ramsey in favor. Opposed is Councilors Duran, Wheel, Cody, and McKay. Wheel, okay, Cody, and McKay. Okay. You want to go on to the next resolution, sir?
Councilor Barrett, Councilor Cody, that's a request to operate a home occupation, i.e. counseling, therapy, services. The property located at 13 Donwood Drive, PID 278531, D reject.
Question called.
Question called? Okay. Question called? Vote.
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
In favor. Okay, all in favor, Duran, Rivard, Yankoff, Twill, Cody, Bernard, Duffy, Ramsey, opposed, Councilor McKay. Bernard, Duffy, Ramsey, opposed.
Councilor Barrett, Councilor Cody, that the request to reduce the required lot frontage from 22 meters, 2.2 feet to approximately 17.6 meters, 58 feet, and reduce the required lot area from 696 square meters, 7,491.7 square feet, to approximately 427 square meters, 4,597 square feet, to establish a duplex dwelling at 53 Upper Hillsborough Street, PID 360719, be approved, subject to the following conditions, that the occupancy permit is issued on the additional dwelling unit based upon the completion of the required work upgrades to the building unit for the dwelling unit and building as per requirement of the building and development permit.
Question called.
Question called?
I'm in favor.
Question called?
Your worship, move Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor Cody, that the request to reduce the required lot frontage from 30 metres to approximately 25 metres to establish a 3-unit dwelling unit at 80 Longsworth Avenue, 46 Victory Avenue, PID 364695 be approved, subject to the following conditions. An occupancy permit is issued on the additional dwelling unit based upon the completion of the required work and upgrades to the dwelling unit and building as per the requirement of the Building and Development Purpose Commission.
Any questions? Question called?
I'm in favor.
Question called?
I'm in favor.
Councillor Barrett, I move Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor Cody, that the request for variance to decrease the left minimum side yard setback from 4.5 metres or 14.8 feet to 3 metres, 9.8 feet, and decrease the right minimum side yard setback from 4.5 metres, 14.8 feet to 3 metres, 9.8 feet, to construct a 12-unit apartment building at 17 Capitol Drive, PID 387654, be approved.
Question
I'm in
called?
favor.
Question called? Question
I'm in
called?
favor.
Question called? And this one, do we have Councillor or Deputy Mayor Cody, you have to leave because you're in conflict?
That's right.
Cody, you have to leave because you're in conflict.
Your worship, move Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor McCabe, that the request to reconsider decision of council to rezone approximately 3.25 acres of vacant property located on the corner of Royalty Road and Upton Road, PID 388595, by amending Appendix G zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from a single detached residential R1S zone to the low-density residential R2 zone be rejected.
Question call.
Question called?
I'm in favor.
Question called?
I'm in favor.
Your worship, move Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor. Your worship, move Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor. Your worship, move Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor Cody, be resolved that the amendment to the zoning and development bylaw, P8Z2.2 pertaining to Section 2 operation, Section 3.14 design review, Section 4 accessory structure, Section 4.6 non-conforming buildings, Section 43.1 parking space standards, Section 44.21 exemptions to sign regulations be approved to proceed to public consultation, and that the amendment to the zoning and development bylaw P8-Z2.2 pertaining to Section 36.3 regulations for industrial and commercial uses be deferred until after the IRAC hearing.
Just in that last part, 36.3 regulations for, is that for zoning? Alex, is that a zoning issue?
Yes.
It is. Like the M2, M3 zone?
It's an amendment to that zone.
Okay, Councillor Twill?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, it says here, the amendments to the zoning and development bylaw, PHZD.2, pertaining to section 36.3, regulations for industrial and commercial uses be deferred. Did we not go through a public consultation process? Or not really a public consultation process, but did we do a text amendment to bring in these M2 zones to allow for asphalt plants?
We added two uses.
2 uses, right? So can this be a little more site-specific? I'd like to get a handle on what area of the city are we talking about? Like, are we talking the Sherwood Road? In which several months ago, there was, I don't know, 175 people showed up, unequivocally said no. So what location are we talking about? Can you help me, Mr. Mayor?
I just want to ask, Councilor Bird, how many M2 zones do we have?
We have two.
Two.
Yeah? So
So
what are
what's
we
your
talking?
question?
So is this a Sherwood Road?
Councilor Bird?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think Councillor Twill knows where we're talking.
Really?
There's two zones. There's Sherwood Road and West Royalty Industrial Park. Staff are the ones who brought the amendment forward, and at the meeting it was discussed the reasons why they brought this amendment forward, and it was really to do with what the uses were within the West Royalty Industrial Park. They thought it was more of a business park. The consensus amongst the planning board was to defer it because the timing was poor with regards to anything to do with asphalt and concrete plants, which I certainly have no issue with. But as Councillor McCabe said in the meeting, and I agree with her, I think that the whole park has to be looked at in its totality, because it is that of a business park, and instead of doing one little amendment to take a use out, take a look at it in its totality. So I'm okay with that. And
Does it go from M2 to M3?
I have no idea. This is brought forward by planning, so I'm just,
Is that what we're going to?
yeah.
It's, Your Worship, it's just a rationalization of the uses there to ensure that the uses that are there are reflected by the zoning that's applied to that particular park.
So is that M2 and M3?
It could be, it would be M3, which is all of the new uses, the recent uses have been all M3 around it. And I think there is a historical reason why it was M2 in the past, but we would look at all of that at the time, if we were looking at the park in its entirety, and we would give you a report as to why the zoning, if that's presently applied, is applied the way it is.
Councilor Twitty?
Yeah, just to follow up, yeah. So, from when the resolution was passed, first, second reading, what was that, 3 months ago?
At least, yeah.
3 months ago, and all of a sudden, an earth-shattering revelation, earth-shattering. We're now going to be entertaining a change. We're changing the rules as we go along, because all of a sudden it's not copacetic, and because the business community or the residents might not be in favor. It's too bad we didn't have the same consideration and sensitivity to the business community on the Sherwood Road and the residents that live in McLean Subdivision, Penny Lane. Talk about your double standards. Wow. Unbelievable.
Questions?
Questions called, Your Worship.
Questions called? Okay. Please vote.
I'm in favor.
In favor? Okay. Okay, sir. Next one is what?
Your Worship, to adopt bylaw P8Z2, so, 017, a bylaw to amend the zoning development bylaw to rezone the property at 221 Belvedere Avenue, PID 395087, from low-density residential R2 zone to the parking P zone. Moved by Councilor Bard, second by Councilor Cody. Whereas the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning development bylaw P8Z2.2017 as it pertains to 221 Belvedere Avenue, PID 395087, as attached, was read and approved at the first time on August 12, 2019. Be resolved that the said bylaw be read a second time, Your Worship.
So, just to clarify, on the second reading, Mr. Forbes, right, on the second reading, there's no discussion.
The NDA second reading is passing that.
Just passing it, right? So it's just I call, Yeah. So that's it, okay? Just so we know. Okay, shall it pass?
Pass.
Any contrary? Okay, so
It'll pass.
Moved by Councilor Bard, Councilor Cody, be resolved that the said bylaw be approved and adopted, Your Worship. to adopt bylaw PH-2.2018, a bylaw to amend the zoning development bylaw to rezone the property at 71 and 73 Upper Prince Street, PID 683748, and PID 359521 from low-density residential R2 zone to parking P zone. Moved by Councillor Bard, second by Councillor McCabe. Whereas the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw PH-2.2018 as pertains to 71 and 73 Prince Street, PID 683748 and PID 359521 as attached was read and approved at a first time on August 12, 2019. Be resolved that the said bylaw be read a second time, Your Worship.
Shall it pass?
No?
Pass.
Can I just get those favor, could you just go with the old-fashioned way, please put up your hand if you're, shall it pass?
Pass.
So what was the vote?
Just one second, and those against? 6-3.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor McCabe, be it resolved that the said bylaw be approved and adopted.
Shall pass?
No?
Pass.
Same. Cody?
Your Worship? I have a question.
Questions for anything else? Stand up.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Forbes, can you please explain to me how the reconsideration process works? If the residents aren't happy after resolutions passed, first and second reading, could you give me the details on how a reconsideration would work before the residents would potentially apply to IRAC to have this decision overturned? How exactly does the reconsideration process work?
Can you give us a comment?
Yeah, Your Worship, the reconsideration process is just, you need to file an appeal to IRAC, and then as part of that, you can also ask for reconsideration.
From council.
We dealt with reconsideration earlier this evening. There is a legal test before you can, before the staff or planning board will comment as to whether they feel that it met the legal test for reconsideration. It's not a political decision, it's a technical, legal decision, and it's really put in place to prevent, if there was a flaw in the process early on, instead of going to IRAC, that it's a known flaw in the process, the procedural process, then council could recognize it and then deal with it before the application has to be reviewed a second time at IRAC.
One more question there, Councillor?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Forbes. I mean, Mr. Forbes. Alex Forbes. Alex,
Mr. Forbes is over here too.
I know, I'm confused. We got a solicitor, and we got a manager, legal,
Forbes Magazine.
exactly. So if there's anything's been missed, well, I don't know if you call it political. I call it being accountable, open, and transparent. We did have a public meeting. Majority of council didn't see fit to respect the residents that attended the meetings at the Charlottetown Hotel, up Prince Street, Palmer's Lane. So who would do the reconsideration? How would that go? It would be up to you, sir, to entertain the information that was stated at the Charlottetown Hotel, and there was no compliance or no consideration given to the residents, and all the points of view that they brought forward. For example, on Upper Prince Street, the street being overdeveloped. So you would review that and then make a recommendation to council, back to council, or back to planning board? How would that work?
Planning staff review it in tandem with our lawyer, because it's a legal test. You have to be able to show that there was a problem in the process on how it was approved. They would state their grounds, we would review their grounds, and if we felt that there were grounds, we would advise council. If we didn't think there were grounds, we would recommend that you not reconsider the application, and planning board does also participate in that process.
But the final decision is with council to entertain or to hear the reconsideration. Is that correct?
Whether you want to reconsider it or not, but it's based upon, basically it's, even though it's planners that review it, it's done in tandem with the lawyer, and we ensure that, we're protecting the municipality from the fact that if we see again, that there was a procedural error happen in the rezoning, and we can see it, instead of going to IRAC for them to tell us that,
Right.
we would tell you, and then we would be the first ones, staff, to indicate we think you should redo this process or whatever the remedy would be to correct the problem, which IRAC would eventually do anyways, if it was a known procedural problem.
But who makes the ultimate decision when it comes to the reconsideration? Is it council?
Council makes the ultimate decision in regard to the outcome of both the staff review, and the planning board also makes a recommendation to council.
Thank you, sir.
And, Mr. Forbes, what section of the zoning development bylaw, is that section 15.1, is it? Section, sorry. Reconsideration. Anyone who want on chartertown.ca and just locate the bylaw.
It's, your worship, it's section, it's section 3.14.
Okay, so that outlines the whole process, right?
Your worship, is there a time period?
Yeah, 21 days.
21 days?
Yep.
Okay, 21 days.
We had a similar request there, Councillor Twill, at the neighborhood meeting, or public meeting that was held there at West Royal on the asphalt plant. You were there. And we had some concern that they didn't meet 21 days, but they did. So it's 21 days from the final decision, correct, Mr. Forbes?
It's from the decision of council.
Which is tonight.
That's right. Council made the decision not to hear the reconsideration on the asphalt plant,
Yeah.
right?
Uh,
Yeah?
Yes.
That's a different, even a different
Yeah.
situation.
Can we just go to the last resolution?
Worship, to adopt bylaw P8Z2.2019, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw to rezone the property at 38 Palmer's Lane, PID 275156, from low-density residential R2 zone to the medium-density R3 zone. Be resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw P8Z2.2019 as it pertains to 38 Palmer Lane, PID 275156, as attached to be read a first time, Your worship. Moved by Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor Yankoff.
Press to speak.
Question call.
Question call? Question call on first reading.
Be resolved that the zoning development amendment bylaw P8Z2.2019 be approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Councillor Barrett, second by Councillor Yankoff.
Shall it carry? Pass.
Yes.
No.
Okay. Opposed? Count, Deputy Mayor, Councilor McKay. Councilor Duffy, you in favor?
Oh, I'm in favor.
Okay. Go ahead, sir. I'll give you the time.
Last one.
Anything else to report there, Councilor Levert?
No, that's it, your worship. Thank you.
Deputy Bo, Bon voyage. Speak highly of us. Thank you. Okay, the next report is
I'd be willing to go with the pilot.
Protective and Emergency Services. Councilor Brown, is that right?
No.
Hold on.
Julie.
Human Resources, sorry, Councilor McKay.
That's okay.
You wanna get up?
Seemed to get forgotten, that's okay. The Human Resources Communications and Administration Committee met on August 21st. The minutes are in your package. I do want to say tonight, a huge thank you to Alicia and Jen in our communications department for doing a great job during the storm, for getting out the alerts to all the residents in Charlottetown. I know I certainly appreciated being kept informed what was happening, so great job. I'd also like to welcome John Moy tonight, who's sitting with our present HR manager at the table. John is going to fill in for Bethany when she goes off on maternity leave, so a huge welcome from us here at the council. Looking forward to working with you, John. There is one resolution for your consideration tonight. Any questions? I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions?
Moved by Councilor Jaycock, second by Councilor McCabe, that the city council adopt travel and meal reimbursement policy, CHR 11, as per attached, effective September 9, 2019.
Question called.
Please vote.
Favor?
Favor?
Split down the middle, Mitchell did. Split down the middle.
That's it, Councilor? Councilor McKay?
That's everything, yeah?
Good,
Thank you.
thank you very much. So I believe it's now. Councilor Braun?
Thank you, Worship. Before we start, I'd just like to thank,
We lost the beeper.
Can we find out if Councilor Duffy is still with us? Yes. I don't want to lose a quorum.
Unless that's his pacer. If not, he's not with us.
Well, the first one was going.
Where is he at? The hills of St. Patrick's Road?
Moving Bill.
The hills of St. Patrick's.
St. Patrick's Road.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Probably fell asleep.
No. He's not a normal baby.
Yes,
Okay,
Sorry.
we lost you there.
I'm here. I lost you somewhere along the line.
Okay, thanks.
Don't fall asleep on us.
no, thank you, Worship. Before I start, I just want to thank the fire and police and our Public Works Department and anybody else that helped out this weekend in the hurricane. I really appreciate their efforts, and I think they all went above and beyond. I got a lot of calls from some residents today looking for help picking up trees, and I think there was already trucks on the go. So, you know, it's a big undertaking in a disaster like this, and I'm very proud to say that our employees and staff did a great job. So thank you very much. And moving on, the Protective and Emergency Services Committee met on September 3rd, and those minutes from the meeting are in your weekend package. On the policing side, staff are making a great effort to prepare for the upcoming Shellfish Festival, and they're working on traffic duties and things for that. Officers participated in the Special Olympics truck convoy and also participated in the Upstreet Art in the Open pedal bike race, helping to raise money for these very important charities. On the fire side, I'm happy to say that our second fire truck has had the resolution of council, and the purchase order has been placed and forwarded to the dealership on July 24th. The power outage response plan has been updated and was well in place for this following weekend. On a happy note, the Fireman's Ball is scheduled for October 19th at the East League Center, and if anyone has any questions regarding this report, feel free to ask me, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too want to echo Councilor Duran with the fire and police and communications. What a great job they did. It was pretty intense storm, and a lot of damage, and so the communications were good, and I know the police and fire have been very busy, so we appreciate that. My other question, I'm wondering, it's a second new fire engine, and I'm just wondering, Councillor, this goes back to what you brought up last month, and I'm just wondering, was there a tender going out for this second fire truck?
The first resolution of council, we went out to tender, and part of that package gave us the opportunity to go for a second truck if needed. So, you know, our chief came in and informed council, and council all took a vote, and we agreed. Resolution was passed, and we went out for that second fire truck. You know, the tender documentation allowed the city to acquire a second fire truck at the same cost. So that's why in the first tender it was in place, so we did that. The resolution was put to council and to purchase the new fire truck. So this new fire truck also required approval of capital funds. So staff correctly obtained council approval for the purchase of the second fire truck and the funds to acquire it, all in accordance with the city policy for purchasing and capital funding. And I appreciate our chief to doing some extra homework on that and getting us a price of the second fire truck the same as the first one. So I hope I answered your questions on that. Thank you.
Want to follow up there, Councillor?
Yep. I guess I'm just trying to show, because when Councillor Drong was on about that there was asphalt that was without tender, there was 2 asphalt tenders. But anyway, I'll just show you what I'm talking about. If you could put up number 6, Tracy, resolution number 6. So that's the resolution that went out. It's asking for 1 new custom triple combination fire engine.
That's the tender? Yeah.
That's the tender asking for 1.
Resolution, yeah.
Resolution.
Are we on? I'm just trying to get it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Do I? What's that?
just to try getting, you have new video.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. There it is.
Okay. So that one's clear, that it's asking for 1 new custom triple combination fire engine for $971. And the mayor and chair are authorized to execute standard contract. So then on June the 14th, if you could put up the second one, Tracy? Have you got
need
the
an
recommendation?
Just enlarged over there. Nope. Okay.
So this would have been a recommendation from the fire chief to his committee. I spoke to the agenda item during the, okay, you're going through a few of them here.
It is fine, John. Okay. Just the resolution itself.
Yeah. So this here one is the current purchase and sale agreement with the company that won the first bid be extended to include a second identical triple combination fire engine. So that's where they went to the fire committee, and they asked you guys if you wanted to get a second fire truck. Now, you didn't have the money in the budget, so it would have came to council or committee of the whole. And that would be the third one, Tracy, the next one.
But just before you do that, Councillor, so there was a resolution, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That was a resolution that was forwarded by the chief, right?
There was a resolution, Worship, to add, there was a resolution to add $1,010,000 to the capital budget because there was no money in the capital budget for the second fire truck. What basically happened was that they had asked if they could piggyback on the first tender. Now, if you put up number 1, you'll see in all our tender documents, we are allowed to add or take away in a document. So if you see in the very bottom, the city of Charlottetown reserves the right to increase or replace any quantity or remove any item of work from the contract. So that gives the city the ability. No different than the asphalt contracts that he talked about last month, where he said there was a whole bunch of money tendered, or untendered, for $1 million worth of asphalt.
Point of order.
There was 2 items.
Point of order here.
There was 2. What's the point of order?
This is
What's the point of order?
police, right? Why are we talking about asphalt? We can talk about that later, right?
Okay.
you know,
No,
I
that's
can, I
okay.
can
We'll
ask
talk
you
about that
questions
later.
on this.
Yep.
This is, you know, this has nothing to do with my,
No, that's fine. Well,
okay, that's good.
Point of order.
So,
Thank you very much.
I'm just showing that the fire truck, $971,000 fire truck, there was the second tender. It was attached to the first tender, which I'm not saying is not allowed. It is allowed as part of the policy. Okay. Thank you, Your Worship.
Just one second, one at a time.
Can I just, respond to that, Your Worship?
Are we responding to his question about the
Yeah.
fire truck?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Go ahead.
So all this about the second fire truck had council's approval, a new resolution, and it was in the first contract that we were allowed to do that. Am I correct in that, Chief? Okay. So if you want, maybe I'm missing something, and maybe I don't know if the chief's prepared, but he can certainly outline what was done. And this was done all with council approval, resolutions. You know, there's no question here about the second fire truck. It was in the contract. So would you,
Just on the point of order was that this didn't have anything to deal with what was being discussed, so
Yeah.
we'll have to leave that for another meeting.
no. He asked a question about the fire truck purchase.
Right,
That's under my committee.
right,
Asphalt's not under my committee.
right.
So that's why I'm saying. So if you want clarification on anything to do with the second fire truck, our chief is here to explain it.
We can do that next week at a special meeting.
Why can't you do it now?
Well, you just rose a point of order saying that you should be bringing this up.
About the fire truck, yes, but not about the asphalt.
No, I know that.
When it comes to finance or public works, we can discuss that.
But the announcement was making here was that a resolution was passed, and then they added on to the purchase of asphalt last year, correct? And then the fire, or police and protective services added a fire truck to a resolution that was passed in March. Was it March, sir? Yeah. So we're discussing something that is asphalt, fire trucks. Why don't we just stick to your report?
No, I mean, he wants a question about the fire trucks, then I'll,
Your point of order not to bring it up.
no, I'm not set a point of order not to bring it up, your worship.
I understand.
Like, believe me, you know, for 8 or 9 months, I've been trying to bring this stuff up. But if you ask me a question here, don't say we're not gonna talk about it now until a special meeting. I'm willing to talk about it right now. You ask a question about fire police, the two chiefs are here and we're willing to go. I don't back down, try to hide anything. So if Councillor Bernard wants an answer, our chief will give it to him.
Do you want the answer now?
Yeah, I guess the point I'm making, you're understanding it, I'm not sure he's getting it, but
Yeah,
the point is that you went to a second truck, and the reason it came to council is because you didn't have the money in the budget. You're allowed to go with a second truck, you're allowed to piggyback on that tender, because it's part of the policy,
It's part of the tender.
part of the tender and the policy in the tender package.
Okay.
So, you know, what I'm saying is, if you use it the same as the asphalt had money in the budget, so they were able to piggyback on the tender. The only reason this came to council is because they didn't have the money in the budget. So what came to council was, we'd like to buy a second truck, we'd like to piggyback on the first tender, and would council agree to giving us the money? That's the resolution that was passed, was the money. So,
So, Chief, do you want to clarify what's going on here with the resolution? Make sure that lights up.
The first resolution, new initiative, and half the budget.
can't hear him, can't hear you.
You have to go louder.
First truck came with a new initiative capital budget, back
Yep.
a year ago.
Yep.
We went to tender. Part of that tender process is a preamble, the first portion of the tender. Councilman Bernard's correct. That allows us to turn around and piggyback on the first tender. Okay? That was vetted through finance, it was agreed, yes, that's exactly what that says. You can
Yep.
go for your second truck.
Yep.
Okay, well, we didn't have money in the budget. We're already past capital budget, but we had this deal on the table. We could buy the second truck with the same cost as the first truck. That's when I came to council and got the approval for the resolution. All right, then the purchase order. So it all followed process. Everybody was advised, everybody was informed, all along. So that's where we're at with the second fire truck.
Thank you, and Your Worship, that's exactly what I was saying. The only thing is, they had to come for the money. 2 years ago, when they're talking to the street asphalt, they had the money in the budget. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You're all right there, Councilor Brown?
That's perfect, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Bernard, we had to ask for additional money for water and sewer, correct? 500,000 for some upgrades? Did we piggyback that on another resolution, or did you created a new resolution? The additional 500,000 that was added to the budget for capital.
For what?
For what, Mr. Dillon?
Your worship, that was a tender that came in, it was over the budget, so in order to meet the value of the tender, we asked for an increase to the budget.
Oh,
Correct?
yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, so they would have had to ask for that, because I was asking for more money.
Did that come to council? We voted on that?
That something went through the committee first, because we're all in that committee. Okay, so,
Okay.
you have something for us?
I have a question.
Julie McKay has a question.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councilor McKay.
Right. So, thank you, Councillor Duran, for your report. I noticed in the minutes there's a comment to say Chief McDonald and Deputy Chief Mamie discussed with the committee apartment building barbecues, and I guess I was just wondering if you could give me an update on that. I've had residents ask if all apartment owners and condo management have received letters on that. She's saying that some in her building they haven't received any, and I guess what's kind of the plan moving forward? Thank you.
It's a plan that they're implementing. The deputy chief is working with the fire inspectors, and they're trying to find out first apartment building owners, and they're going up and giving them notice first. And if they don't comply, then they give I think it's a written notice to comply. So, you know, there's a lot of residents. These barbecues that are enclosed in apartments, that's the ones that they're keying on now. So they're trying to get as many notices out to apartment owners first. So it's a work in progress. They're trying to do their best, and you know, they should have a number fairly soon, probably at our next meeting, because it was taking a little while to get that in place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I correct in that, Chief?
You're correct.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Want to hear something? Okay, we got a bylaw amendment.
Amend the City of Charlottetown nuisance bylaw 2019 and B01 to define what a B is, update the definition of unthought to include B, removing any reference to the Charlottetown Area Municipalities Act, and replace with the Municipal Government Act, the PEI, and number the bylaw 2019 and B01. Moved by Councilor Drawn, second by Councilor Rivard. Resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown nuisance bylaw be read the first time, Your Worship.
Councilor Bernard.
I'm
on
just
this-
wondering, Your Worship, if I could ask, yeah, I guess Councillor Duran, where did this come from? What is it with the bees that you want to put in the nuisance bylaw?
Councilor Ron.
Thank you, Your Worship. There was concerns through citizens that, you know, people were putting in bee nests in their neighborhood. And, you know, somebody's allergic to bees, and they just didn't want you know, residents being able to put in 6 or 8 or 12 racks of, you know, harvesting bees for honey and things like that. So this came with a concern for residents, came forward to the committee. The committee decided to go this way, so that's where it came from. But
This is like a business of
a
all
bee-
rack
bee-
with the
yes,
honeybee.
like
Okay.
those big boxes you see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, beehives, I guess that's the word. There's something like chickens last year, so this is bees. So, poultry, yes. That's what it's for.
I can't call them chickens.
Poultry includes turkeys.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Shall it pass?
Pass.
Pass.
Your Worship, resolved that the bylaw now be approved and that it be entitled the City of Charlottetown nuisance bylaw, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of the council, Worship. Moved by Councilor Duran, second by Councilor Rivard.
Shall it pass? Pass.
Pass.
For the bees.
The bees.
That's it. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Water and sewer. Councilor, Deputy Mayor. Cody.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our committee met, and the report is in your package. I do want to say thank you to Richard and his team at the utility for their preparation in the storm that we experienced on the weekend. A lot of hours went in, like Public Works and Fire and Police, so I do want to give out a shout out to the utility staff also. Provide a very essential service to the residents and business community here in Charlottetown. Your Worship, I have two resolutions for council's consideration. If there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions on this report? Here, Councilor Bernard, is that you?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to question the report?
Councillor Cody, yeah, actually, I just wanted to say thank you, Your Worship. One of the questions, I guess, first was, and I see we have ex-councillor Eddie Rice here, who, the East Rowley Lagoon, the East Rowley project, the closing the lagoon install would have been started by Eddie Rice. So we thank you, and I assume this is the final phase, Councillor Cody, this here
Is or isn't?
decommissioning.
Is or isn't?
It is? Is it the final phase of the East Rowley Lagoon decommissioning? I'm assuming that's the final phase of
Yeah,
the project.
you're correct. That is the final phase, Councilor Bernard.
Okay, no,
Yep.
just wanted to say thank you again. Eddie Rice started this, and it continues on to the Water and Sewer Committee. It's going to be great for the community, Your Worship. That's a large area. There's two large cells there that are going to be decommissioned. They'll be using it for green space, what have you. So the project has been moving along, slow start, but now that it's on the go, it's been moving along very quickly. So again, thank you and your committee.
I think Councilor Rice stole my idea. That was a campaign promise I made in the last two elections.
Or was it?
Yeah.
You already heard about it before you made the campaign promise.
That's all. Welcome, Councilor Rice. Welcome.
Last two elections.
I just started, didn't you?
Moved by Councilor Cody, second by Deputy Mayor Cody, second by Councilor Bernard, that the Island Coastal Services be awarded the tender for East Royalty Lagoon decommissioning in the amount of $1,017,405 HST included, and that the WSP complete the engineering project oversight in the amount of $69,000 HST included, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Question.
Question call.
Question call. Please vote. You in favor there, Councilor Duffy?
I'm in favor.
Boy, Mike.
8-0. Another one, sir?
Yes, Your Worship, moved by Deputy Mayor Cody, second by Councilor Bernard, that the Williams, Murphy, and McLeod be awarded the tender for the Milton Vale Wellfield Phase 3B communications system in the amount of $1,650,000 HST included, and that Coles and Associates complete the engineering project oversight in the amount of $34,500 HST included, and further that the mayor and CEO are hereby authorized to execute standard contract agreements to implement this resolution, Your Worship.
Any questions?
Question call.
Question called. Thank you there, Councilor Ramsey.
You're very welcome, Your
I'm in
Worship.
favor.
Favor? 0. These are the ones I like. Quick and dirty.
That's pretty good of you. Like being so way out off. In the morning.
No, I think it's
Okay.
Oh, yes, okay.
There you are, sir. Okay, anything else? That's it? Okay. So, Councilor Duffy, you give the next report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think I'll keep it short tonight, bearing in mind our connection here and whatever. So, first of all, I'd like to advise council that we met on Friday, August 23rd, and Wednesday, August 28th. The draft minutes of your out of those meetings are in your package. In light of the events of the last 48 or 72 hours, I'd like to trimming the streets. I myself know that our cottage that you visited 3 weeks ago is without shingles on the roof this morning. And Mr. Adams, our public works manager, is here with me, and he is without a trailer on his cottage lot today. So we understand there's a lot of work to be done in Charlotte, and we thank our staff for that work. I'd also like to recognize our former colleague, Mr. Rice, in the audience. He's done a great work with the Water and Sewer Department over the years, and we acknowledge that and recognize that. I think as time is limited and the facility is limited, I would just kind of turn the report from Public Works over to Mr. Kelly, who has the details for the cleanup and pickup and repair work around the city today and days to come. So rather than me repeating it from the horse's mouth, I'll let Mr. Kelly address that issue. I think it would be of major importance to the residents. So you're there, Mr. Kelly. Do you want to take over?
Thank you, Councillor. Your Worship, we have been speaking with the province and also Island Waste. We're trying to coordinate an overall plan. Hopefully we'll have more information by tomorrow, if not very shortly thereafter. We're trying to go forward to make sure that we're all on the same page and do it very expeditiously, Your Worship.
But Councillor Duffy, talking to some of the staff, there's lots of debris on the streets and all over. Can't we just move forward and start cleaning it up?
They are.
Just,
This is for private property, Your Worship, to try to move it from the backyard to the front yard. We're trying to get a plan in place with extra pickups, and so we're having discussions with the province and Island Waste to do that.
okay. So, but in the meantime, what's on the streets, people can put it out and we'll pick it up.
No, Your Worship.
No.
Again, what's on the street, staff are already picking up, and all of that debris, we're trying to get a plan in place to work with Island Waste and the province to be able to take this stuff from the backyard, Your Worship, into the front yard, and we're just waiting to get that coordinated. So don't put it there yet, because we want to make sure we have the capacity to pick up, Your Worship, and because we're trying to work with Island Waste as well.
So
We're going to pick up.
the only problem is that if Island Waste Management does it for the city, guess what? They can do it for the whole province.
That's why we're talking with the province also, Your Worship, so we're trying to get the integrated
The whole
strategy.
province.
Yes, Your Worship.
Councillor,
I think it's important, Your Worship, and members of council, that we speak with one voice so that there's not Councillor Duffy running off in one direction, Mr. Kelly running off in another direction, and his worship running off in another direction, and the councillor in the area in each ward running off in an entirely different direction. I think the direction and the impetus and all that resident has to be one person speaking for the city, and we'll leave it to that person to call the shot. And it's an operational issue, so therefore, logistically, it falls to the chief administrative officer. That's why I'm not interfering. I'm just listening and heeding. So I'll take it from there.
do we have a timeline?
We're trying to get some answers defined by tomorrow, Your Worship, and we hopefully will be putting out a release at that time.
Councillor Bernard?
Yeah.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Duffy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Councillor Bernard.
I'm just wondering, unless I'm missing something here. It is Bernard, by the way. Did you say Rivard?
Yeah.
You're starting to wane on me.
In the past, after a storm this intense with a lot of the damage, Public Works has usually opened a window of approximately 2 weeks to allow residents to pick up any branches and debris and put it at curbside, and the city would pick that up. I'm assuming we're still talking with that, approximately the same timeline.
Sure.
Yes?
Sure. Councillor Bernard, I was thinking in the immediate future, like 3-4 days down the road, rather than the overall period of when they can pick it up, so to speak. And I would leave that to the operational folks. And we're not going to. I don't think I can't speak for the operational chiefs, but I don't think we're going to turn anybody away when they call us to have some branches or some leaves or whatever picked up off the property.
Second question. Do you want to clarify that?
Just clarify, we don't go on private property,
No.
Your Worship, but
I know,
again, we're trying to integrate an overall strategy with Island Weight and the province with extra pickups and bundling with our own crews. So we are trying to work both those pieces.
Yeah,
Councilor
so,
Bernard?
so I just want to be clear though, Peter, because when you bring in IWMC, I mean, they do their thing, but they have a lot of requirements whenever they have a lot of requirements when they're taking in the waste.
We
or the-
also try to work with waste to energy as well to see what product can be built in there as well.
Yeah, so my understanding what was done in the past, and I'm assuming you're still doing this, they'll let us drop off this debris for nothing. But what we want to do is get the streets cleaned up as soon as possible, get the city looking good as soon as possible. So I don't want to, if you want to work out something with IWMC, that's fine. But we want to get our staff on the streets.
So we're already out there now doing this.
Okay, so the public knows that they could, we're not going on private property. They're to take theirs to curbside. That's, so,
Trying to find a time frame in which to do extra pickups, but our staff continue as they've done
Yeah,
stated
yeah.
to pick
Okay.
up anything that's on.
okay.
And Councilor Bernard, that is also helping us because those residents are helping us by
Yep.
cleaning up the city.
Yep.
So are we looking at, did you say 2 weeks in the past?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Councilor Drawn.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for your report, Councillor Duffy.
Oh, there you go.
I have a few questions here, and I'm glad Councillor Bernard brought it up. I just have it's a couple of pages, and I want to read it, and I'll give the pages out to council and the press. I just want to clarify what happened here in regards to the fire truck and the paving that we had last year. And I want to start off with city policy states. The MGA requires the city to establish approval process and clearly define signing authority for the city. The city's procurement policy requires purchases over $25,000 must be tendered, and tenders must be awarded by resolution of council. For example, last year the boardwalk by Friendly Pharmacy needed additional work. More work than was noted in the approved tender, and therefore more money was needed. Originally, the capital budget for the boardwalk work was set, and the tender came in below budget. The additional costs were still below the original capital budget, but above the tender approved by council. Staff went back to council and put forth a recommendation to approve the additional work and money to get the extra work. Council passed a resolution and approved the extra work and money. This project had money in the original budget, so no increase in the original capital budget, but council needed to approve the extra work and related costs because the total amount over the original tender. As a second example, council approved the tender for a new fire truck. The tender documentation allowed the city to acquire a second fire truck at the same cost. A resolution was put forward to council to approve the purchase of a new fire truck. This new fire truck also required approval of additional capital funds, so staff correctly obtained council approval for the purchase of a second fire truck and the funds to acquire it, all in accordance with city policy for purchasing and capital funding. Now, we get into unauthorized extra paving costs. For many years, the city has issued tenders for package A and B for road resurfacing work in accordance with its procurement policy. Last year was no different. Tenders were issued and awarded by resolution of council. Council's authority to spend this money is based on the approved capital budget. The 2018-19 capital budget was passed by City Council, in which the city planned to spend up to $3 million on road resurfacing. This budget amount provides council and only council with the authority to spend up to $3 million on road resurfacing. The city has a procurement policy which requires a competitive tendering process for any work over $25,000. The tender for package A went out and the work was approved by council. Council passed a resolution giving the mayor and CAO authority to enter into the contract for the approved list of streets to be paved and the amount of money to be spent. The amount of money to be spent was only the amount awarded in the tender. Council approved a specific list of streets to be resurfaced. This awarded contract stated the city had the right to add or remove streets. Let's be clear. It's the city that has the authority to increase spending on this tender for road resurfacing. Per city policy, A resolution of council is needed to spend more than what was approved in the original tender awarded by council. Proper city approval processes are demonstrated by the approval of the additional boardwalk work and the second fire truck. The current chair of the Finance and Auditing Tendering Committee, and he was the chair of the Public Works Committee when the almost additional $1 million was spent. Councilors Bernard, McLeod, and former Councilor Hilton were the members of the Public Works Committee at the time, and all were well aware of the requirements to tender work and or have council approve any additional spending on a previously awarded tender. The requirement for council to approve any additional award of work to contractors is standard city policy. In fact, the chair of the Public Works Committee at the time was also a member of the Finance Committee, and the chair of the Finance Committee was also a member of the Public Works Committee at the time. The extra $1 million in paving was approved by the Public Works Committee, as stated by Councillor Bernard in the recent comments into The Guardian. As Councillor Bernard stated in the Guardian article, the Public Works Committee approved the extra paving. They added upwards of 12 streets to be resurfaced.
11.
The majority of the extra paving was from McAleer Drive, Brackley Point Road, and Sherwood Road. These streets were significant in length, and that is why there was almost an extra $1 million cost to the city, which resulted in almost doubling the cost of Package A and the amount approved by council for Package A for street resurfacing. To suggest that the extra streets were added to use the tonnage is inaccurate at best. Councillor Bernard states the Public Works Committee agreed to this, to add the extra streets. The problem is, Public Works doesn't have the authority to add these streets. Only council can approve additional work, and only council certainly did not approve this extra $1 million in paving. Council approved a list of streets to be resurfaced. McAleer Drive, Brackley Point Road, Sherwood Road were not reviewed by council, and certainly were not approved by council, in fact. Council was not made aware of this extra work. These extra streets just so happen to surround the property acquired by Chapman's for the new asphalt plant. As stated by Mr. Bernard, the Public Works Committee members approved this work. These councillors knowingly acted outside of their authority to approve additional work. They directed staff to do work not approved by council, and they failed to bring it forward to council for discussion and consideration. I find that very concerning, since Councillor Bernard is the one who chairs the Finance, Audit and Tendering Committee and was also the chair of the Public Works Committee. Councillor McLeod has also been on council for many years and is well aware of the procurement and approval policies. Only council can authorize this additional paving and almost $1 million in additional spending. Mr. Bernard and the other Public Works Committee members have been on council a long time, so they knew that only council can approve additional capital work. And they knew that they had no authority to direct staff to have this work done. In fact, the MGA strictly forbids councillors from directing staff. Let's be clear. Road resurfacing had available capital budget room, but any money to be spent from that capital budget has to have council approval. That's why where Councillor Bernard is wrong, and he knows it. I got just two more paragraphs. Councillor Bernard McLeod knew the Public Works Committee had no authority to approve this work, yet this committee approved it anyways. This extra work did not go through the Finance, Audit, Tendering Committee, which is also standard city practice. This is confusing, since we have the chair of Public Works and the chair of Finance involved. Last paragraph. What is very concerning is the city CAO knew there was no council approval authority in place, and yet he approved the payments even though it was brought to his attention. The MGA assigns responsibility to the CAO to ensure compliance with city policy and legislation, including the MGA, to ensure expenditures are properly approved. Council relies on the CAO to ensure compliance with laws and policy and to bring issues of non-compliance forward. The CAO did not bring this major breach of city policy and the MGA to council, but instead approved the extra payments, which was clearly outside his authority and a major breach of council's trust. that he is charged with and relied upon to ensure city property, city policies, and the MGA are complied with. This has been a clear breach of the responsibilities. Last page.
Counselor,
Okay, just-
I thought you said 2
Okay,
paragraphs.
yeah, we just got a couple here. I read fast.
Can you just, you're at 6 minutes now.
Okay, I've been waiting since November, right? Since we get in. Just give me 2 more minutes. Okay,
Let's go with one.
okay. Council is responsible to ensure city policies are followed and provincial law is not broken. There have been clear violations of city policy and the practices in the Municipal Government Act, which is provincial legislation. I previously called for a review of City Council in late January with a long list of serious breaches of city policy, which including this paving issue, and brought to the attention of Council. On February 5th, there was a resolution passed, dismissed all these issues. There were 7 members of Council who did not want to support moving forward, investigating all these issues. It is no wonder why Councillor Bernard McLeod wouldn't support this. Now, my question for Councillor Bernard is why didn't you bring it forward to the Finance, Audit, and Tendering Committee, and then to Council for consideration, and seek the required approval? Second question, why was the extra paving the roads surrounding the new proposed site of the asphalt plant? I think this is hard to believe that these streets just happen to be the worst in Charlottetown in need of resurfacing. So where's the accountability at City Hall? Who is ensuring city policies and provincial law is followed? Who is ensuring Council is adequately informed? You know, my question for the CAO, why didn't this come to Council? You know, since it's clearly your job to do so. You know, you had no authority to approve these expenditures. You know, yet you did so, even though staff brought this to your attention.
Can we finish?
No, we should have this, okay? So I repeatedly brought these to Council's, attention. I'm forwarding this for interest of all the residents to get this stuff looked at. But I've been blocked every time. And now I appreciate giving me an extra minute for waiting 6 or 8 months. So, thank you. Or, what, 4 minutes?
Is the question to Councillor Duffy? Because this is his report.
This is his report. Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah,
Yep.
we're here. Sorry.
Okay. Gee, that was quite a question. What is the question, I wonder? It doesn't matter. You have to understand here, Councilor Durand doesn't understand the mere basics of the function at City Hall. The function at City Hall for Council is to oversee the operations of the city, but the operations, the pure hands-on operations of the city, like what streets are paved, how many are paved, and in what order they're paved, is purely within the realm of the CAO. It has nothing to do with City Council. City Council doesn't approve the list of streets that are done each year. They're provided, City Council is provided by the Public Works Department, the list of streets that are going to be done. But that's just for your information only purposes. But they don't vote on whether they're going to be done or not done. Gee, if that was the case, we'd be debating until Easter Sunday, what streets are going to be done and not done. So Councilor Brown's there till lunch. He keeps making up his own rules as he goes along, and then applies those rules to the situation, which are out of sync with reality and with every legislative authority. That's basically what it comes to. And he's going to find out in very short order that he's out to lunch, and I'm going to prove that he's out to lunch, and he's going to suffer for being out to lunch.
Well, that's quite a threat now, isn't it? Did I respond to that, or Councillor Bernard?
Just 1 sec. Did you click in? Do you want to speak? Go ahead.
Oh, so I have my button on, so you ask him to.
Oh, no, he requested to speak.
What?
Okay, do you want to respond? Go ahead, Councillor Durant, respond.
Okay, well, thank you.
Can we keep it
Yeah,
short?
just
because-
quick thing. An extra $1 million spent without Council's approval. We'll sum it down. How did that happen? Okay?
I can tell you how it happened.
Your Worship.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
City Council approved the budget in March of 2018, providing the Public Works Committee with the ability to spend $3 million on paving. That was passed by Council. By the way, Councillor Durand was not present for that passage, that resolution. very close to $3 million on roads. I don't have the figures right in front of me, but we spent on our first submission, or our first listing of our assessment of worst is first, we spent about $1.4 million. That left $1.6 million surplus. So when it was realized that there was an error in ordering the aggregate, what do we do? Do we put the hit on the provider, which is Island Construction? No, that's not fair. It's our error. Do we do the next streets that we would have done the following fall and at a lower price because the market value of the aggregate was much lower, it was 20% lower for that year, so we capitalized on that aspect of laying asphalt. So we chose to do that. So we did another maybe, I don't know what it was, but we covered off 10 or 11 or 12 more streets that would have been done later on, like in 8 months' time, the spring, at a higher price. So it was a win-win kind of. It was kind of a windfall that we experienced because of the price of the aggregate being so low. So at no time did we exceed the $3 million that we were given permission by council. And to apply the same logic earlier in this meeting, where Councillor Drong is defending his Protective Services Committee of buying a second fire truck because they knew what the market was for the cost of the truck because they had bought the first fire truck. We applied the same logic in 2018 and did 10 more streets. So, like, the citizens of the city of Charlottetown should be happy and glad that we did that. So, like, and we still came in under budget. He's talking about additional money. There's no additional money involved here. In fact, we came in with a $434,000 surplus that year that we turned back in the treasury. So it's just false information being provided.
Councilor Bernard.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not going to belabor this, Your Worship. It's basically, this is what I was trying to make the analogy earlier with the fire truck.
Yeah.
And under our MGA, it actually says expenditures. A council shall only make an expenditure that is included in its financial plan.
Which is the budget.
The budget
Yeah.
is your financial plan. The budget has $2.99 million. Public Works put out that year, and they sometimes they go out with the whole amount of money. They just throw it. This particular year, they went out with a couple of different package A and package B to try and see if they get the best price. So after package B, they knew the unit price. There was an issue, as he talked about, with a mistake that our staff made in the material. Regardless if there was or wasn't, as we've seen with the fire truck, you were able to go, because the unit, it comes a contractual obligation with that tender. So they put the extra $900,000 on it. And he goes on a tangent about, Sherwood Road. Well, there was 11 streets paved. Valdane Drive, Raymore Drive, Burns Avenue, York Lane, Newbury, Victoria Street. What's that had to do with Sherwood Road? Norwood Road, Brackley Point Road. These were roads that the staff would have identified to go and repair or pave, whatever. And, a whole bunch of accusations there that it's just unbelievable. Like, they make it the public forum when he doesn't know what he's talking about. Doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. He doesn't understand the policy and the procedures with the policy. You, I think, talked to a lawyer yourself. Your lawyer said there's nothing there. Everything's done right.
So to clarify, there was $3 million in the financial plan, the budget.
Bring up number 5, please, Tracy.
Okay?
This is 2018 budget.
Yeah, 218, 219.
So, right here, street resurfacing, $2.999571, $3 million. Come in under budget.
And so overall, did you spend less than the $3 million?
Yes, we did.
Not $4 million?
No. I think he
I'm
said
just
497,000.
$2.6 million.
2.6.
Just put it back. Okay. Any other questions?
Certainly.
One question?
One question. I understand that there was budget there for that, the $3 million.
Right.
My question is, you never had council approval for the extra $940-some thousand, close to $1 million.
Yes, you did.
Council was never made aware of this. Council never voted on it. There was no resolution passed. They just went out and paid Paid 12, no, well, what, just, okay. So, oh, yeah. Mr. Duffy, I'm on the floor, sir. Okay, yeah.
Counselor Duffy. Counselor Duffy.
Counselor Duffy,
No, no.
Public Works Department to lay pavement in the city of Charlottetown in 2018, and they did, and the city, and the Public Works Department did not exceed that budget. They were given the authority to do that, and you say it's not it's an unauthorized payment, you're wrong.
Point of order, Your Worship.
Yep. Point of order.
Point of order.
Point of order.
I think the problem here is, he keeps referring
Point of
to.
order.
okay,
he
so,
keep- he
so
keep-
I'm
he
in the
keep-
middle of mine.
No, if it's-
Okay, I'll
point
sit
of-
down
Point
now.
of
He
order.
keeps
Sure.
referring to, the ones that he's talking about is when they need more money, and it
They
comes to
need more
council.
money.
Now, he's used to seeing resolutions come to council approves for more money. This had the money in the budget. This was a council document that was approved at budget day. So, it's almost like going back and saying, do we have authorization to spend more money? Well, do you need any more? No, there's 2.9 million there, you spent 1.4, you still have another close to $700,000. The money is there, it's been approved by council to spend on asphalt. That line item had 2.9 million. So they did the same thing as the fire truck, they tagged on to the tender documents that were in for package A and package B.
Yeah.
They were allowed to do it, they did it, they got more paving done, there was good prices in 18. So this here resolution come through, they had the authority to do it, nothing was broke.
So just, that's why my earlier comparison, the
It's
500,
because-
hold on,
it's
the
because the money was in the
$500,000 that was requested by Water and Sewer, that wasn't in their budget, so they had to get a
They
resolution.
had to come to council, it's more money. And that, I mean, why else do you pass a budget?
Yeah.
And that's why it's a financial plan, it said that no expenditures unless you have a financial plan, and the financial plan that she brought up was there for
So Water and Sewer
2.99 million.
Didn't have the money to do it, so they had to come back to council for the additional 500.
All the examples he gave was more money, they needed more money.
Yeah.
This one, they had it.
It was in the budget.
If they had another 900,000 in the budget for another fire truck, yeah.
Okay. Counselor Duran, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I'll wrap it up. If I'm mistaken, and I don't know the rules, then I certainly apologize to everyone in this chamber, to Mr. Kelly, to yourself, for wasting everyone's time. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, like, why can't we have a review to see if this is done right? I've been asking for a review of the financial department, have a review done, get this cleared up, and I'll never question yous again.
Okay.
You know, that's all I'm asking.
Whoa.
I can answer that.
Yeah, so the audited statements for 2018, 2019 are coming to a conclusion, correct? Correct?
Yes.
So that will be able to point something out, right, Mark? Yeah. So that will be our opportunity. We have audited statements for 2018, 2019. Should be out by the end of the week, Mark? Jeez.
Your Worship, I'll just add my closing statement, okay, as Public Works Chair. The most honest remark I've heard from Councillor Duran tonight was, I don't know. Thank you.
No, but you got a resolution to forward.
Must have heard wrong sitting in Seattle or something, I don't know.
Councillor Bernard, you want to sum up? It's been a healthy discussion,
Yeah.
lively discussion.
No, you know what, it's not the finance. Anyway, I was just gonna say, what he's asking for is why we bring in outside auditors every year. And I mean, we just went through, what he talks about for asking for 7 or 8 months is a management letter. We went through the management letter with everybody here, everybody was happy with what they're seeing. So now we moved off the management letter to all these accusations. The auditors come in to make sure everything's followed. That's what they're there for.
Yeah, so the audited statements will be ready
And
very
we
soon.
just went through.
2018 to 2019. So we got a resolution. That's the resolution.
Your Worship, moved by Councillor Hancock, second Councillor Bernard, that as per the conditions of the public tender for 2019 micro surfacing, the low submission of Maritime Road Recycling, the amount of $507, $507,150, all tax included, be accepted, Your Worship.
Okay.
Question.
Question call. Please vote. Carried 8-0. Okay, just 1 second. Yeah. Okay. That's it for your report there, Counselor?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you. Economic Development and Tourism. Counselor Ramsey.
Good to see you, Your Worship.
Well, listen, good to hear from you.
Finally. We met August 21st. The open draft minutes are in your package. The Arts and Advisory Board met the 13th. They're also in your package. We're very pleased with as you all know, the Highland Games were here a couple weeks ago. They're coming back next year to Charlottetown for they enjoy the events grounds. I'm so sorry that the Councilor Creel's not here to see that, but
Hear it.
he would hear it anyway. But that's a good process to get into. They really enjoyed it, and they couldn't get over the response from the people in the city of Charlottetown and all the volunteer helps. And for a shout out again, as we all did the last couple of days, I got an awful lot of phone calls and emails thanking Public Works, Sewer and Water, Parks and Recreation, Fire and Police, how some people even phoned me yesterday morning and phoned me this morning as I talked to you, Your Worship, how he thanked me for having the city trucks right there first thing in the morning with all the branches. So, of course, being a politician, I said, you're very welcome. But the staff is great.
Take
They're-
credit.
Yeah, no, they're all around Ward 5, and in a final note, I must say, I got a text from my wife, my power's back on.
Oh, good, good.
Oh, good. So now you can shower.
I can shower now.
Shower for 3 days.
But there's no resolutions, Your Worship.
Okay.
But any questions, I will certainly entertain them.
Any
How
questions?
do I look, Tracy?
Councilor Yankoff.
Thank you, Your
You
Worship.
sit on the committee?
I do. I just wanted to remind Councillor Ramsey, when all those nice, good news stories, he forgot one. And that was the 2020 Under-16 Girls Canadian Fast Pitch Championship coming. So big shout out to the staff for securing that.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you for reminding me,
New
Councilor.
information.
new information, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be close to 1,000 people here next August.
And that's Canadian under-16 softball.
Yes, it is.
Now the people coming. There will be.
Well, there's 300 players plus parents and coaches.
Okay, environment and sustainability, who is, you're doing that, sir?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councilor Bernard.
Just before I start, Your Worship, I do want to recognize Mark Lanigan was on EMO also, Your Worship. Spending a lot of time making sure that everyone went as best it could. So, Mark, thank you very much for being part of that team. Environment sustainability. They met on July 31st. Your Worship, obviously the minutes are in your packets.
Yes.
There is some highlights here, Your Worship, that I will read off, if I may.
Go ahead, sir.
The City of Charlottetown with the towns of Cornwall, Stratford, was officially awarded funding in August to invest in new buses for the capital area transit fleet. There are 2 RFPs open right now for the purchase of minibuses and full-size buses, Your Worship. The tender will close September the 7th. Your Worship, the city's transit service broke records for daily ridership last week in Charlottetown. On Wednesday, September the 4th, 3,400 passengers were recorded using the service in Charlottetown. Previous to that, the highest number, Your Worship, was November 2018, where it was 2,850. So a big increase. So it's still moving up, and that's good to hear. The Environment Sustainability Committee launched a bike rack cost-sharing program in late August for businesses, and a number of businesses have signed up to take part, Your Worship. There are still a few racks available, and if there's any other interested businesses, are encouraged to reach out to the city's sustainability team. So that looks like it's taken off pretty. The city's single-use plastic survey for the public closed last week. Over 1,200 responses were submitted. The results of the survey responses will be presented to the Environment and Sustainability Committee for discussion on next steps and ways we can support residents and businesses to reduce their use of single-use plastics. Random Acts of Green, a social enterprise focused on motivating individuals and businesses to take climate action, is kicking off their national tour in Charlottetown today. We wish the best for this group as they continue with their tour and encourage residents to check out their phone-based app to track the green acts. And Your Worship, last but not least, Wild Things in the City is an upcoming city event promoting local flora and fauna with the focus on urban forest. This is a free, family-friendly event and will be taking place at Frank Macaulay Park on Saturday, September the 28th at 9:30 till 12. We invite members of the public to join us for nature-inspired crafts and activities, refreshments, and more. So, Your Worship, that's the report for Chair McLeod. I'll do my best to answer any questions.
Councillor Bernard, as for Make Our Hometown Beautiful, we're trying to put something together, and I'm just extending to councillors that if you have any suggestions of constituents in your different wards that you'd like to forward their names or what they're doing in their own home garden, I'd like to submit them to Jill Stewart in the mayor's office.
Okay.
Okay, that's to all of you. Councillor Rivard, Councillor Yankoff, anything that you may want to submit, that would be great.
So these are, Your Worship, recommendations on personal property, on gardens and so on?
Yes,
And so you're nominating them then?
that's right.
Right on, okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to hold something by the end of maybe the last week in September.
September or October?
Don't see, but it's floating right now.
And that's through this committee, or you just?
Well, Ramona, it's coordinated through
The mayor's office.
environment, sustainability, the office of the mayor, and,
Okay,
okay? So we're working with Ramona on it.
sure thing. Okay.
Any questions? Yes, Councillor,
And I agree with that, to make the whole town beautiful too, your worship and all that, but we gotta be careful, this is, like, it's getting late in the year too, and all that, and like a lot of these flower gardens and all that, not looking as well as you did, I guess, last month or 2 months ago and all that. So, you know, one of the reasons was we tried to ease it back, and how it ended up in tourism this year, I don't know, but we tried to ease it back because there wasn't a whole lot of grab for it out there.
Yeah.
In fact, our former mayor and all that, and the secretary, had to go out themselves, or she had to go out herself and take pictures of certain lawns, because it was the same people coming back and all that.
Okay.
But the year is getting late, but if it happens, like, we're all for
there
it.
will be a comprehensive review for the
Yes,
2020.
thank you.
And Councillor, just on the buses, UPEI have rented 92 rooms at the Dutch Inn in Cornwall, and they will be providing T3 transit for those students to get back and forth from the Dutch Inn and the university. So they've created a separate agreement to make
I
that
think
happen.
they did that last year too.
Were they at the Dutch Inn?
Cornwall and UPI, yeah.
Lost them again. Can you get them out? Okay, is that it, sir?
Yes, it is, thank you.
No questions?
No questions.
Okay. So, strategic priorities and intergovernmental cooperation.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Strategic Priorities and Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee. Oh, hey, he's back. We did not.
Tracy,
We can hear you.
thank you. Okay, thanks.
We did not meet since the last council meeting. However, the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee did meet on August the 8th, and the draft minutes are included in your package. We have no resolutions for your consideration, and if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you.
No questions?
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Yanka. Finance, Chair of Finance.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship Finance Committee met on September the 4th. We did review a number of public procurements. We would have seen here tonight the different committees: East Roy Lagoon, Milton Vale Well, microsurfacing. So, Your Worship, there's always, we're putting in the package now to give everyone an update, and what we'd like to do is, you can keep an eye on your own committee, you can keep an eye on other committees. All the financial updates are current to the month. So, Your Worship, after 6 months since the budget was approved, we're still in good shape. And I appreciate the managers keeping an eye on things and the elected officials. So, Your Worship, if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions? Councillor Braun.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for your report, Councillor Bernard. I was asked about, our expenses as councillors.
Just leave them off.
No, yes, yes. Always hanging up that phone.
Should FaceTime him.
We can do that next time.
Otherwise, cut out.
Thank you. I was asked, I was happy to see Councillor McKay bring up something about, in the policy about expenditures and things this month. I was just asked, when a council group goes out to supper or dinner, who pays for that? Is that under your own bill, or is it paid by somebody else? We got some great pictures coming back from our visits to the FCM, and I tell people, well, city council and staff are allowed to go out. They use their own expenditures and things like that, and they put in bills every month. So they just wanted me to ask, who pays for that? Could you be a little clear on that, Mr. Bernard, please?
So if I get the question right, if you're on a conference or whatever and you go out for lunch, you're wondering who's paying for it?
No, yeah, like if the group goes out for supper, like who would pay for that? Like, are you up to your own pocket, or do you pay the bill yourself and then put it in when you get back? That's what I'm asking. I haven't gone, so I don't know.
So you haven't gone to a conference before?
No.
Really? Well, you get a per diem, so much per day. And
Okay.
that per diem covers any of your expenditures, and your food is one of them.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
that's,
happens. Thank you for clarifying that.
okay.
Second question, or just one?
No, I just said the one.
Councillor Aycock?
Hi. I think hi. Thank you for your report, Councilor Bernard. I believe the Eastlink Center falls under the finance terms and reference, and I understand that the current GM of the Eastlink Center is retiring, and I'm just wondering, going forward, how this role is going to be filled, or if there's been any discussion, or maybe that doesn't fall under finance for that kind of a question.
That's a HR.
That's an HR thing? Yep, okay, thank you.
Broader discussion there.
Yeah.
Did we cut off Councillor Duffy?
Yes, Your Worship.
Yeah, he's gone again.
No, we don't need them.
Did he hang up?
I'd say that would be more than likely.
Phone bill for that, right? Better check out that phone bill from Seattle, Washington. Okay, that's it. Any other questions?
Thank you, Your Worship.
Anything under council advisory? He's not here, and I think there is a bylaw amendment.
Second reading.
Yes, Your Worship. Amend the City of Charlottetown Procedure Bylaw 201819 to indicate when a meeting of council shall end. Therefore be resolved that the City of Charlottetown Procedure Bylaw be read a second time, and that the said bylaw be now adopted by Councilor Hancock and seconded by Councilor Jones.
Shall it carry?
Pass.
Pass.
He's trying to get back.
Trying to get through, yeah.
There he is.
Oh, the darling.
Missing
Good
something.
evening.
Are you there?
Hello?
Peter cut him off.
Yeah, I'm tired of you, Councilor Duffy.
Councillor Duffy.
He could be out to lunch.
Councillor Duffy.
I don't know if you can hear you. Richard, speak to him.
Councillor Duffy?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, great now.
Are you in favor of the second reading of the amendment to the bylaw to extend, no, indicate when a meeting of council shall end, 3 hours? Yes?
Councillor Duffy? There's
Yeah.
a second reading of the procedural bylaw to amend
The bylaw,
the time that council meetings would end. Are
Oh,
you
yes,
in favor?
okay. I approve, I pass.
okay, 8-6.
But just on that, Your Worship, if council is in that meeting and they want to extend it, just takes a majority to vote to extend it, correct?
2/3.
2/3. Okay.
And I don't think there's amount of time that you can extend it by, I think it's 15 minutes or half hour. There's a time limit.
I didn't think it was. Huh?
Oh, so you can go beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, we almost should have went 2 hours.
So. I don't know why we're amending it. You could also cancel it whenever you want to,
Kids get F's at school.
by 2/3 vote. that is a procedural bylaw, okay.
Okay, any new business?
Oh, we got an hour to kill though, your worship.
Motion to adjourn.
Right here.
Okay, all in favor?
Julie's
Your
moving up.
worship,
Yes.
this is kind of like one small step for man, one big step for man, one
Yeah, we know.
Whatever.
Yeah.
for mankind. First council meeting electronically.
No, we had Council Reverb, remember we pumped him in?
He means for him.
Nominations is just a short middle state.
Thank you, Councilor Duffy. Enjoy your stay down in Seattle.
What? I'm going home.
Go him. You go out and have a drink.
Yeah, I knew that. He was coming to him.
Peter?